Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you some BL series mistakes you may or may not have noticed. While there are certainly many more mistakes to address, I will be focusing on just 8 in this video. If you have noticed any mistakes in other series and would like to share them, please feel free to do so in the comments. So, without further delay, let's dive straight into the video. Number 1. Love in the Air. This one is quite an infuriating one. However, I don't think this is the first time we've seen something like this occur. This is, however, the one that was the most difficult to ignore, and I just have to mention it. In the special episode of Love in the Air, there is the scene of Sky apparently playing a game. However, when the camera shows the screen of his phone, there's clearly nothing on the screen. Not only was the screen shown once, it was shown many times, and it seems they really weren't bothered by this. I don't know if it's a bigger hustle to actually play a game for the scene than it is to fake playing one and it being very obvious. If they knew they were going to do something like this, I really think they could have done a better job at avoiding us from seeing the screen. Maybe they were hoping people would focus on the intimacy side of things and ignore that mistake. But it was really hard to ignore when the phone was just placed right in our faces the entire time. If anything, I was more focused on the phone the entire time, and I think it really took away from what they were trying to achieve. Number 2. Kinnporsche. When I first watched Kinnporsche and saw this particular scene, I noticed it made no sense, but really just ignored it. This was probably because we were finally getting to see how the main leads felt about each other, and I was hooked. However, looking back on it now, I think it's actually funny, and Beyond Cloud is very unserious for that scene. In episode 6, as Kin and Porsche were stranded and had their hands handcuffed together, we see them go from being handcuffed to mysteriously bathing shirtless in the river. I didn't understand how that was possible, and cannot believe they tried to make us believe that was very normal and possible. When their shirts were off, the only reasonable explanation to me was that maybe they tore them entirely. But of course, in the next scenes, we see they have them back on again, and it just showed how intentional this was. They obviously wanted to give us the shirtless scene, and at the same time the handcuffs had to remain. So they did the most unrealistic and noticeable thing to achieve it. The scene was beautiful, definitely, but seeing how they did it makes it feel a bit unserious. Number 3. Bed Friend. This particular scene was only in the uncut version of the episode, so it's possible that many people may not have seen it. And for those who did watch the uncut version, I think it also could have been easy to miss it, due to the brightness being very low. In episode 4, during the bathroom scene on Yua's birthday, towards the end of the scene, as the camera moves towards the mirror to the left side of the couple, you can see one of the crew members through the mirror. I think this, of course, could have definitely been avoided, but I'm not mad at it because it seems they tried to make it less noticeable. It was quite dark on that side, so you can barely see anything, if of course, your attention is just on the couple. Also, when the individual is in frame, that's when the scene immediately changes into another one, which was a great move. Number 4. A Boss and a Babe. Editing mistakes when it comes to angle changes are something I don't normally notice, or rather not pay attention to, but with this particular one was somehow hard to miss. In the first episode of A Boss and a Babe in Our Sky 2, there's a scene where Cher is busy gaming, and Gun walks in from taking a shower and he's drying his hair. There's firstly a wide angle of him drying his hair with the towel to a close-up of him just standing and not drying his hair anymore. The transition wasn't smooth at all, and it felt as though these were just 2 different scenes. I really expected that the close-up would still be him drying his hair, but it was just cut short into a scene of him just standing. I'm not sure how everyone else felt about this or if many people noticed it too, but I just thought it could have been done better. I can also see how many people could miss it because I don't think it's something most people pay attention to. However, I just thought this was worth sharing. Number 5. Love Class 2. In episode 9 of Love Class Season 2, during a scene of Minwoo and Maru, you could see a boom mic right above them. It was just so hard to miss. It would be in frame and out of frame, and it was clear the boom operator was trying hard to get it out of frame but could not. I really thought this was funny, but had to question whether the boom operator was just too short or the angle was just too high. I do think, of course, something could have been done about this from editing the mistake out or rather redoing the scene entirely. But if this was a constant occurrence, no matter how many times they shot the scene, then other alternatives could have been using a different angle where the boom operator could have been able to keep the boom mic out of frame. They also could have shot the scene at a closer range. I don't think it could have taken or added anything to the scene by doing so. Number 6. Forever, You. So this series just started and I was quite let down that they didn't pay attention to such a small detail. I'm not sure if everyone else would consider this a mistake, but I consider it one. In episode 2, we witness Hill asking for Easter's number from Pim, and Hill handing him his phone to insert the phone number. Pim didn't have his phone in hand, nor did he take it out to check the number. Somehow he knew it off the top of his head. Let's be honest, no one memorizes a phone number of someone they just met. It cannot happen. Especially if they're not someone very important to you, it makes no sense. I think they overlooked this detail easily because I was waiting for the moment Pim takes out his phone, and it didn't happen. As much as this is a mistake, it's also unrealistic. I don't think anyone takes the time to memorize someone's phone number. Especially in such instances where the person isn't someone of importance like family or a significant other and friend. And I was so glad to see that others saw this too and pointed it out. Number 7. Between Us. I don't know if we can call this a mistake or a deliberate action, but it definitely bothered me. The constant color changes of Win's hair roots in different scenes in the series. His hair would alternate between being completely blonde and having black roots in different scenes. It was so unpleasant because I think it doesn't take much to just fix the hair and make sure it's the same color throughout. Of course, it could have been a more natural look if it only changed towards the end of the series to show that time has passed. But seeing how it randomly changed really ruined it, because this made it clear that they shot some earlier scenes so much later, when his hair color was fading. And that's something I don't really like to know when watching a show. Hair may seem trivial, but such details can impact a series, and I think for me it showed the lack of attention to detail. Number 8. For Him. For Him is one of those series that was full of mistakes that were just impossible to miss. However, in this video I'll highlight the one glaring mistake from episode 10 that stood out to me as particularly egregious. In this scene, as Tae is talking on the phone, you can clearly hear two voices speaking back in the call. I'm not sure if this was feedback from the voice of the supposed caller or rather the voice of someone in the background, telling them what to say. It wasn't even subtle. You could hear the voice really loud and clear. If they had listened to this, there was no way that they could have heard this and just ignored it if they wanted a great series, unless they were just unbothered and didn't care what the outcome would be. It also makes no sense that they missed it, because obviously after filming a scene, the team usually has to watch the scene and listen to the sound before deeming it usable. But I guess that was not the case with this crew. But honestly, given how the entire series was poorly constructed, I'm sure they heard it and said it's great, let's just run with it. Surprisingly, in the YouTube version they released afterwards, they seem to have fixed this issue, which is a shame, because it's so hard to now move on from what they gave us first. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.